Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another edition of our Bdpa Tech and Career Talk. I am Devin Jenkins, our Tech and Career Talk leader. I currently live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I'm a staff technical product manager in supply chain analytics at GE Healthcare. So excited to have you all with us today. For those who may be the first time, I will give you a brief overview of BDPA as well as our Tech and Career Talks. And then we'll get into our conversation today with our special guest. So BDPA, Black Data Processing Associates, an organization was started in 1975 as a means for those in the technology industry to continue developing their skills and connect with other individuals as well. So it's a network and development forum for those professionals already in the IT field, especially those of color. And then we also focus on development of middle and high school students, developing their computer programming skills and technology acumen so that we continue to diversify the talent pipeline into the field, but keep those who are in the field strong and advancing in their careers. Our mantra is advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. So glad to have you with us. Hope you continue to support BDPA. Our Tech and Career Talks happen on the second and fourth Friday of each month, and we feature a range of speakers speaking on different topics. Some are more tech focused, some are more career focused, some blur the lines. So we have a range of speakers, a range of topics. We're here every month, second and fourth Friday, with the exception of the holidays towards the end of the year. We usually skip that fourth Friday. And then in August, we tend to take a break from the talks. That way we can focus on our national conference, which is coming up August 18th through the 20th. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia at the Peachtree Westin. So we hope you can definitely come out. I'll drop the link in the chat here shortly so that you all can check that out and hopefully even register. I'm in attend if you haven't already. In our next Tech and Career Talk, we'll actually get into a little more detail around the conference itself. Before today, we have Monica Dillingham with us, talking about navigating to the C-suite. So Monica, how are you doing?
I am very excited to be here on this Friday.
Thank you. How was your holiday weekend? Did you get to enjoy some time with the family?
Yes, I did get to enjoy time, just relaxing.
Good, that is important. Well, let's kick things off. We have people joining in, but tell us a little bit about you, who you are, your journey. Let us know who you are. Who's Monica?
That's a loaded question, but let me tell you about my journey in tech. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at the National Association of, excuse me, college, the National Association of College and University Business Officers. That's why we tend to say NACUBO, because it is a mouthful. And a lot of the associations are. I've been there, actually just celebrated my 11-year anniversary at NACUBO. In my role, I run all of the tech infrastructure in the organization, from software, hardware, all the platforms. And I've really enjoyed the work that I do. I don't know if you want me to talk about my complete journey.
Well, you know what? Before you get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about NACUBO and just what it is in general, and then let's get into your journey.
Okay. NACUBO, the organization is for chief business officers on campuses, college institutions across the country. The CBOs on a campus are the finance group. So think of the business office, think of everything on campus, from the fire department, from buildings, keeping the lights on, all of that. The chief business officer is responsible for that on a college campus. In addition, they have to also have advocacy work, working to keep Pell Grants or figure out what the tax laws are. So essentially, that's what our organization helps them do.
No, that's great. And I know when I was in college, I always made sure I had a great relationship with the business office, because
Yes.
that can make or break.
Especially the bursar office, right?
But definitely had to make sure I was in good with them. So that's cool that your organization focuses on those. And while we're speaking about NACUBO, how does the association world kind of differ from other tech sectors?
It's its own animal. And the reason I say that, the technology is a little different. The software platforms they use are different. So when I came from a self-regulatory organization from government and went to associations, there were platforms I'd never even heard of. And they're specific for member-driven organizations. So let's say you have a product like Salesforce, but Salesforce may now have another application that's built on top of it that will manage the member aspect of it. So it's not being used for sales, but it's member specific and customized for that. So learning the lingo, because all of these associations have acronyms, and then learning the different platforms, and new ones come out all the time. And they're designed also so that the associations can afford them. So bringing in, I don't know, somewhat like a product like NetSuite, Oracle is super expensive, and maybe they'll trim it down for an association so the association can afford the licensing for it.
That's great. And it, it also, it kind of brings to my mind, what are the parallels between organizations like BDPA? And are there technologies we should be focusing on within our own spaces to make sure we're equipped to do what we need to do and be as efficient as possible and effective, in this 21st century that we're living in.
Exactly.
So let's switch gears a little bit. So we're here to talk about navigating to the C-suite, which you have successfully done. So you have a firsthand perspective on what it takes to get that done. So let's talk a little bit about your journey. So how did it all start? What sparked your interest in tech and IT, and how did you end up here?
It's funny. I was a trainer at LexisNexis. Really did not have tech in my landscape per se. I was on an elevator. There was an individual in the elevator. She'd see me every morning. They had a position. And she said, I think you'll be perfect for this position. You should interview for it. And it's a position where they'll send you back to school. I already had a bachelor's, but it was in African-American studies. I was going to be a history teacher. That didn't pan out. So I interviewed, I got the role, and it was probably the best decision I ever made, because coming in on that level, I was exposed to not only the software side, but the hardware side. And it kind of became almost like a classroom environment for me while I was still getting the bachelor's in information technology management at the time. So there were many challenges there. I remember the network director that was there gave me a server and was like, I want you to put Novell on there. I was like, what the heck is Novell? This is back when they gave you the whole CDs or diskettes. That's dating myself, and figure it out. And that's before you could really browse to go to Google. There was no Google. That tells you my age. And trying to figure that out and looking through like manuals, and there were a few tears, I'm just not getting it. And then, those aha moments where, oh my gosh, I can't believe it is staring me in the face. So I did start on the hardware side, and because he stressed, which makes sense, you need to know the software, what the equipment is that it's running on. And if there's a problem, sometimes it could be hardware related. So I actually started on the hardware side, and then transitioned over to the software side. And that was like my first management role. I was in a position where I could start hiring people and hiring my team, and getting used to all of those different personalities, and then progressed. So when I left there, I was a senior director, and then transitioned to government contracting. And government contracting was another environment where I had exposure to different platforms, rigidity, which I didn't necessarily have in the other role. So I had specific PMI guidelines I had to do, specific CMMI requirements. So I learned all of that stuff. in that role. And then kind of learn the project management side, which I was actually a natural at. It's just how I function. And I found for project managers, it's like you have to like what you do. But I had the tech background, and I did that for like 3 years. And then an opportunity came that a friend of mine was like, you need to interview for this role. It was like more like a lateral. And that's how I got into the association space. But it was an association that had a large, I think a lot of people don't realize that NACUBO has a lot of women. There are a lot of women in the organization. And frankly, it's interesting. This was my first exposure to working in an organization with women, because this whole journey was with men. And I'm the only in the room. So that was kind of refreshing, and a different perspective on how the work is done and how you navigate through that. And by doing this, taking on this role, I was able to get mentors and sponsors that were also women and men, helping me navigate to where I am. So I know that a lot have said that they're tired of hearing that there's not enough of us in tech. Yes, there are, and I am seeing more, which is great. It's as you move up the food chain is the problem. It gets lonelier as you move up and you see less of us in these roles. So that's why I've actually stayed in this role and stayed in tech, because yes, there are days where you just get beat up, you're overworked, you're exhausted, but you have to look eye on the prize on where you're trying to go. So I know that was a big mouthful.
No, it makes sense. I'm glad you said it. I think it sets a good foundation for how you been able to get to where you went to. And the thing that started to me, just if I think about the journey, you started in the hardware side of things, moved into software, and then eventually got to product management. So you kind of got the full gamut of like those kind of core skill sets you probably need to have as a CTO. How important would you say it is, especially for those of us who may be a little younger in our careers? I'm in product management right now, but how important would you say it is to spend time on the hardware side, the software side, the product management side, getting that full breadth? Could you maybe go deeper in one area, pick up the other things as you get there? Just, I guess, how important would you say it is to spend time in those different skill areas to be prepared for that role?
I think it's very important. It's interesting that I feel like the hardware side kind of gets ignored. And I think part of that problem is like technology is like everywhere, that we carry it around and just kind of take it for granted, but not thinking why things aren't working or how can I improve this, especially if you're in a development role, trying to develop a new product. What is it running on? Is this going to be on a server? Is this going to be in the cloud? What is it going to be running on? And I think that contributes to a more effective product in the end. And then the management part of, I think the project management side is also sometimes neglected. It's like, this is the date, we're just trying to get to the date, but there's a process that you have to use to get there. And in that is also the management style. So I am not a micromanager. I trust my people. Like, you got your certified in this, that's your lane. I'm going to let you stay in your lane. You know what you need to do, but you have checkpoints with them because we're adults and you need to treat them like adults. But that's just my management style. And then kind of like getting the new technology can be challenging because it's changing all the time. So I kind of have to like set time aside to get that additional knowledge per se for myself. So maybe it's on Friday afternoons, I spend time reading or looking at videos to see what's out there or something new that I wasn't aware of. And I also participate in maybe like a webinar or something, because you also need to get the lingo of what the heck people are talking about if it's something new out there. So.
I think that brings up an interesting point. So, I think if we talk about getting to the C-suite, it's like an end goal for a lot of people. But I think you just brought up a good point that to stay relevant, you have to continue learning. I know continuous learning is a big part of continuing to elevate in roles and grow and take on different opportunities. Maybe go a little deeper into that. So you say, you carve out a little bit of time you listen to some talks or whatever it is to stay relevant and new. I guess how much of that executive level type of role is taking time to keep learning and staying up on new things in the market and industry trends and this new technology that just changed 2 weeks ago. Now you got to keep up with it. Now, how much of the role is that, and what are some strategies you put in place to make that happen for you?
I think it's essential in order for you to make yourself marketable, make yourself successful. I carve out that time. Also, as the like different generations come in, they have exposure to things that I may not. Like, I learn a lot just from my sons. Especially if it's like a new app or something. So sometimes it's like, listening to what they're talking about. And I do set aside time to have conversations with them as well, but trying things. So like this organization that I'm on the board, Association Women Technology Champions, we hosted in partnership with some other associations, a metaverse. And what we try to do is, there are individuals that are my age or super busy, and this was time for them to take 2 hours for their day, go into the metaverse. You need to learn this. It's going to change everything in the future. You can't avoid it. And it was kind of like not making them feel inadequate or anything. This is how you set up your avatar. This is how it was interesting going in there. Like, I'm just trying to grab a cup. I can't even grab the cup. And it was kind of fun for us. But then you have individuals that this is all they do. But you still need to get a gist of what it is, how it works, what are some of the challenges, what are some areas that they're still working on. And by participating in these things, if you're someone who develops products, maybe it's a way to highlight, ooh, maybe I could develop something for this piece that's lacking. So it is essential to take some time. Like, I get flooded with emails, but I have to like flag them and then set some time to actually read them and absorb them. So
No, you're touching on a lot of great things. Even the metaverse, I just launched a metaverse gallery through my business. I Share the Vibes LLC. I did a festival a few weeks ago, and we launched a metaverse gallery. And just there's opportunities that have even come from that. Part of the revenue I got was someone paying for an ad in there, and I wasn't even thinking about it. And I was just doing them a solid. So it's a way to promote what we have, a way for people to engage in a different way. I mean, I was even telling someone earlier, like, we're essentially going to have our physical lives and our virtual lives. That's what it's coming to. So how do we stay relevant with all of that? And then you mentioned something else right then about time management. I think that's what it kind of comes down to is, as you elevate, and I'm learning, I'm definitely not a corporate executive yet, but I'm learning that like my time isn't getting freer as the years go by. It's just how do you manage it and balance things out more, and do better about that. So maybe what are some strategies you have in place to manage your time between the family, being a tech corporate leader, with these associations, your self-learning, just living your own life, staying sane? What are some strategies you have in place for managing your time as you operate at your level?
So I live by my calendar. I can't function without it. I even put my personal stuff in there, but I do make sure that annually, like I have, and I've been more intentional this year after the pandemic and being locked up in my home. Um, Being more intentional of spending some time away from the computer and having human interaction has been life-changing for me. And then I am a very structured individual, so you can't see it, but I have a whiteboard and I have my priority lists on my whiteboard. I do have post-it notes because I do tend to multitask, but I have to like bring myself back because as you move up, there's so many people interacting with you, especially in the association space, because in a larger organization, you have an individual for everything, but in the association space, you have individuals playing multiple roles. And they have to spend a lot of time with the time management. So it's like using the tools that are available, but I have to force myself to get away from the computer. I love what I do. And then you lose track of time. It's like, oh my gosh, it's 8 o'clock. No wonder my son's been sitting at the door like, can you get off, please? So I've been trying to spend more time away, and force myself to do that. I'm trying to have like office hours. It is hard. It's really hard to do that. And then on the weekends, I'm trying not to do work on the weekends or doing something that's personal for me. It may be on a computer, but it's something that I want to do. And kind of carving out some trips too. So I'm starting to travel again. But I think your health is your mental health. And I think that just as a country, we feel like work, 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 work. I know Europeans are just like laughing at us, like, what are you doing? We work, 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 work. That, and we saw our parents doing the same thing. And like my son, he's 19, he's doing the same thing. And we're like, you're always at work. Yeah, but realizing that's the example that we're setting for them, so
Yeah.
I'm trying to be cognizant of that as well. So
Yeah, I'm always somewhat jealous but admirable of my European colleagues. There's like a month out of the year where you're just not getting anything done with the Europe team. They're taking that month, and it is what it is. Figure it out. So I think we can definitely learn from that. So I think that's a good tie-in to. I wanted to spend a little time around authentic leadership. So you spoke about it earlier there. Until you got to NACUBO, you haven't seen that many women in tech, especially operating at that level. And I imagine there's an extra element of that when you add in women of color. So just how have you been able to navigate through the tech world as a woman and a woman of color, an African American woman, of that navigating through the tech world? What are some of the challenges you've had to face going through that? Some of your biggest learnings getting to where you are?
You want to get recognized for who you are, but let's be honest, the first thing they see is color. And I have been in those rooms where frankly just been disrespected. Situations where I may be talking to a board member and there's another individual and the other individual won't even acknowledge that I'm in their presence. Or being second guessed, or in a situation where I may not get certain opportunities. And times are changing because frankly, probably 10 years ago, we probably couldn't have this conversation and I couldn't be as frank as I am. And I think a lot of us are finding that as well, that even just my appearance, I had to, when I first came into the space, dress a certain way. look a certain way, wear my hair a certain way. Now I don't care. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. There was a time you couldn't even wear like the dangly earrings. And looking back, it's like how absurd. Um, um, but it is essential for me to have those core group of other women and other women of color. So I do have a cohort that I'm involved with that you can bounce the business side off of. And then I have a group of, frankly, girlfriends that are in the association space, but they're all women of color that I can vent, I can get ideas, I can become whole again, because there are those days where you've just been, and everybody has this, so it's not just because I'm a woman of color, but just have those days where it's like I can't even process any more information. Just the world is moving so fast, and it is exhausting. And then I am a mother of two Black males, so that has its other worries and challenges as well, let's be frank. I'm also a daughter who has her mother living with her. So, from a personal side, I have a lot going on there. And then I'm trying to work in the association space. And it has been nice that I could be myself around the women. And you still kind of have to be guarded in some settings. But it has become more like a family environment. However, I have discovered in the association space, and it has been a challenge, that when I go to events, there's only a few of us. Where are they? They are there, and they are in the association space. And I don't know if the associations are not encouraging to attend these events, or whether they don't feel comfortable and don't feel welcome. And I don't know what the answer is to change that. So the AWTC, we're trying to work on that and trying to pull these women into the fold and say, you are welcome. We want to hear your perspective. We want to hear your voices. And we want to get you more involved in visibility, like not being hidden. Your insight matters and is needed. So.
No, that's good. And a quick thank you to Tim Brown, our national president, who joined in for a little bit but had to leave. So I have maybe two more things I want to ask, and then I'm going to open up the floor. I do see we do have a question in the chat here, so we're going to open up the floor to everyone to continue the conversation with you. So you talked about some of the challenges you faced as a woman of color in the tech space. I think one of your cheat codes, if you will, was to have a support system in place, that people, trusted individuals you can go to and talk about some of those challenges and get their insight, free of judgment from. So thank you for sharing your challenges. I want to know, what's your favorite thing about being in tech leadership?
I think part of it is learning new things. And then I like the interaction there. Although I have this introvert side, I do thrive on the networking side. And then I also like to be involved. Like I do also volunteer work. Like I don't have enough things going on. I think in this particular role, I get exposure to everything. So I can volunteer, I can go to the networking side, and then also participate and get exposure to different technology. So it's a lot that I like, which is good because you want to like what you do. And then there are areas where, and times where I felt like I didn't want to do this anymore. And it's kind of like, I feel like those seeds are planted where you encounter that individual that's like, you got to keep going, you got to stay, you can't leave. But it's something that you like need to hear. So basically, I think I just like the interaction with others.
No, that's great. So last two questions. The
Mhm.
first one, um, what can organizations like BDPA do to ensure that more Black, Indigenous people of color um, individuals are landing these positions in the C-suite, especially in the technology space? So what can we do to make sure that's happening, or do differently, or do more of, to continue to make sure that that's happening? And then the last thing I'll ask is, do you have that one last kind of maybe summary of your three main takeaways you want people to have here as they think about what it takes to navigate to the C-suite?
Okay. Uh, for BDPA, I mean, you guys are doing amazing work as it is. And I do agree, you have to start in the school system um, to get them, whether it's to college or whether it's to a training program or whatever it is, getting them into the tech space so they can be financially stable as well. And then, and I think you guys are already doing this as well, trying to get them the jobs. Um, and I think some of the organizations, they say that they struggle trying to get diversity, but I think part of what is broken is the process itself. So, if you go on and you apply, there are algorithms that are running and it's picking up things that are irrelevant, but this person is the perfect candidate, can do the job, but they didn't use the right acronyms on their resume. I don't know how to fix that. Same with the government process. They have that long application, and they can move from agency to agency, but how is someone like me getting in without being a contractor, getting a full-time job? And there's a whole process for that. Why are we making this so complicated? So I think that BDPA is doing what is necessary, preparing, because preparation is essential as well. So, continue doing what you're doing. And what was the second question?
Okay, and then the last thing I want to ask before we open it up, what are like your three main takeaways or your main summary points for the audience in relation to navigating to the C-suite?
I would say be yourself, be authentic, never compromise your values to get to the next role, because you won't be happy. It'll be a title, but you won't be happy. That role that was meant for you is there. It's out there. This one may not be the one for you if you have to compromise your values. And then, advocate for yourself. The only person that can advocate for you is you. So I guess those were three. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Well, we're going to open up the floor for Q&A. I see Alethea has a question in the chat. Alethea, if you want to come off mute and ask your question, you can at this time. And then we'll go to, I'm not sure if it's Jesse or Jessia, so please correct me once we get to your turn so I can pronounce your name correctly. But Alethea, we'll come to you.
You. Hi, thank you. Great, great discussion, and thank you so much. It is so encouraging to be around a lot of, to be a part of the seminar. So thank you, Monica, for coming, and thank you for me getting the invite. But I do have one question, and I'm sorry, but I have been in a cocoon for the past 5 or 6 years. So there was one term that you used when you said association space. Can you explain that to me? I'm sure everyone else on the call may have known what it meant, but it was
they
just
may
driving.
not.
Okay.
It's just meaning the area of associations, since it's
Okay.
like own animal, and it's many associations together. Their structures are different. Their conferences are different. The products that they use are different. So that's why I'm saying space, like putting it in a bubble.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I think we had Jessia. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Jacia. You can come off mute if you'd like to ask your question. Otherwise, I'll ask it for you. Jacia. Okay, Rams Maria. Good, I got it right. Okay, so Jacia is driving, but she asked, can you talk about mentoring and advocates?
Oh, yes. So I have several mentors, male and female, but I also feel that it's essential to give back as well. So I've been a mentor for ITSF, ITSMF, woo, for college students. I've mentored for, and actually was the vice chair for Girls in Technology. So I ran that program with another individual. And I also have mentored and participated, volunteered at the local elementary schools as well. So I feel like you have to find the type of volunteering that you want to do. So that is another thing that is encouraged in the association space, is volunteering. And I know some of the larger corporations that give you so many hours that you can use towards volunteering. But I also think it's also important to find a mentor. It doesn't necessarily have to be at your organization. It also doesn't necessarily have to be a person of color either. Just finding that person that's in a role that you want to get to and having conversations with them, and frank conversations on maybe what you need to work on, or maybe you have questions on things that you want them to help you with, or maybe you just want to ask them questions, and checking in with that person on a regular basis. I hope that answered your question.
Hope that answers your question, Jacia. Feel free to drop another one if it didn't. Okay, we'll go to, I'm not sure if it's Nia or Naya, so please correct me, but we'll let you ask your question, then we'll go to Eric.
I was looking at her question.
Hi, you said it right the first time. It's Nia. Hello. Sorry, my throat's a little dry. So I did put my question in the chat, but just to kind of elaborate it, well, first, thank you again for taking the time to share your story and your journey. So I'm a junior and attending University of Maryland, Baltimore County. And although I'm majoring in public health, I do want to get my feet wet in tech. I do see myself being in a tech career. I do have experience with like programming languages. I've learned Python, JavaScript, HTML, CSS. And I am currently working on a certification through Microsoft Learn. They have a certification, I think, AI fundamentals, because I know like having certifications are really important in this field. And so I wanted to add a couple of those to my belt, but I still don't exactly know kind of like how to navigate myself in the tech field, like what to do if I want to get, internships, like what should I look for? Things like that. I'm kind of just starting out. And so I just wanted some advice on, what are some things I can do to help me land an internship in tech so I can get the hands-on experience that I need. I hope that makes sense.
So yes. So the main question is, did you want to stay in the healthcare side? Because that has its own path. Or is it, you were already on this journey to get this degree, and now you're putting tech into it, and you want to lean heavier towards the tech side.
So my story of the reason why I became a public health major is kind of a long story, but as far as my decision with that, I'm mainly wanting to pursue tech. And that's because I like making nice things like look pretty and aesthetically pleasing. That's kind of I don't think I would say a passion really, but it's just like an interest. I don't know if that made sense, but I'm more so leaning into the tech side, not so much like healthcare. That's just a major I chose because I was interested in it at the time, still am, but I'm more so focused on the tech side in terms of career, like career-wise.
So I know UNBC, because I've met the former president, Dr. Freeman Hrabowski, who was also an inspiration to me, frankly. They have an extensive tech area on campus. Have you gone to that department? Because that department has career advisors that could help you get those internships. Especially if you're, because it doesn't necessarily have to be classes that you took, because you're already taking the initiative to do this other training on the side. So that's maybe where I would start. And they have a whole, I think it's a whole department that's devoted just to that and helping you make that transition. So that's where I would start. I don't know if the individual I knew there is still there, but I would try your tech department.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And maybe I can send it to Devin. I could potentially reach out and find out. I forgot what the department is called. But one of my actual mentors, she's on their board. So I could ask her.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And I
Okay,
think
Eric.
Eric.
Hi, Monica. Thank you for taking the time out to kind of give us some insights and some guidance on our career paths being minorities.
Sure.
One question, well, I have a couple questions. My first question is pertaining to coaching and mentoring. I work for Spark Foundry, which is a media or marketing and advertising agency, primarily like within the media advertising space. And they have a Black Talent Career Development Program in which I'll be participating in. So they offer coaching. So what are some good questions that I should kind of ask as far as when it comes to coaching and mentoring, so that way I can kind of figure out the best way to navigate my career path? Because right now I'm sitting at like a management position, like be like my first, I guess I would say mid-level or mid-senior level management position. And then my second question is kind of pertaining to that still. I've been taking some courses with Meritas, where they kind of have like different, pretty much like C-suite level programs, like with Columbia, Wharton, I think the other one is Yale. So they have like these different type of executive education programs that are offered to that are primarily like chief marketing officer program, chief financial officer program. So they have these different C-suite level programs, but I don't know whether or not if those are something that I should try to participate in, or if I should try to utilize my current position with my current agency and be able to utilize the career development program that way to try to work my way up the corporate ladder.
Wow. Well, it seems like you have a lot available to you. For the C-suite courses, are you funding those or somebody else is funding those?
No, they're I mean, they're primarily like taking regular classes, but it's all online, but it's through a Meritas. But Meritas is the third party company that plays the middleman between the different Ivy League schools and whatever student or whatever executive it is that's taking the courses.
Yeah, because those courses are going to be focused more on the management aspect, on, like how do you manage a staff? How do you present? How do you, it may even have like a financial piece, like how do you manage a budget? So it just depends on if you're ready for that. Or if you want to move, because I don't know in your manager role whether you have a staff. Probably if you move up to director, you definitely would. So do you have a staff?
No, I primarily just manage different reports right now. The next position above me will be like a AD position. So I'm just like pretty much I just manage the reports. And then if I were to, I guess like the next position, that would be like an associate director or like a regular director position would be the next level or the next promotional opportunity.
So I would encourage you to move up to the next position. And the reason I say that is to get to like the C-suite, you have to show progression.
Mhm.
So you have to show that you've maintained these skills on certain levels. And then for the coaching aspect, it's trying to ask the coach, like, what are the skills that I'm going to need to get to the next position? What are the things that I need to work on? And I'll give you an example, but you're in marketing, so you probably didn't have this struggle. The struggle for me was always communication and writing emails that are not heavy technical. So I'm communicating to staff, I'm communicating to executives, and trying to not make it too technical. And it was really a challenge. But it's something I've had to work on like the past 10 years. I'm still not 100% there, but it's finding that thing that you need to work on. And I just, you have to be prepared for the answer. But I used to get that feedback, ask them, so, could you check this out? What am I missing? And they're like, I don't even know what the heck you're talking about. Go back to the drawing board and start over again. So it's kind of having the questions like that for your coach on what are the things that you're going to need to work on to get to that next role.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, it is. And then another question I kind of had was, as far as like once I do start to like make progress throughout my career, how do I know like what like department, or if I want to be able to like switch over from, because some of the different C-suite level programs were like, one was like a CIO program with Berkeley, another was a CTO program with Berkeley, another was a CAO, Chief Analytics Officer. So it's like they have all these different C-suite level programs, but my thing was, I don't know which one would fit, like, or which one would be the one that I would want my end goal to kind of be. So I guess it's more so like figuring out what the end goal would be, and then being able to actually work on those different skills to progress to get towar's that particular
Well,
season.
it'll depend on where you want it, because there are organizations that have a chief marketing officer, in a larger organization, if you want to stay in the marketing side. A CTO deals more with the software group. They have like a software development team. And then a CIO, a chief information officer, would be a cross organization. And since my organization is smaller, I kind of do that role too. So, and that would be not as technical as a chief technical officer, chief technology officer. A CIO would deal with the budgets and managing all of the technology, but they're not necessarily doing the technology, doing the work. They have like a team of people. So they would have like directors below them or managers below them. So it's like determining what lane. If you did chief analytics officer, do you want to do analytics? Because if you don't, then that's not going to be a good fit for you. So it's finding and really it's just a title, but finding the skill set that you want to hone in on and that you like doing. So I like the project management side of it, and I can get that from a CTO or a CIO, because they're trying to make sure things are on budget, trying to make sure things get done, trying to introduce new technology into the organization, trying to continually save money. So it just depends on the lane. So do you know at this point, or are you still trying to navigate?
I'm still trying to navigate. I work on the analytics side, but a lot of my because I have 3 degrees total. I have a bachelor's in management and entrepreneurship. Then I ended up doing an MBA from 2018 all the way up until completing, or 15 to 18, and completing my MBA program. That's when I started to learn about marketing. It was primarily sports marketing, but in the facet of me learning about marketing, I was learning how to market myself, because I was using different strategies, like using social media to try to market myself instead of just sitting down and typically applying for 10 to 15 jobs, I found that I was getting more attention and more engagement on social media by marketing myself that way to like a lot of like sports teams and using that avenue instead of the typical just applying for positions. So that's when I started to learn that I was interested in marketing, and then I went from the MBA program into a digital marketing program with Full Sail. And then once I finished the program with Full Sail, that's how I got into the position I'm in now. But it's more so on the analytics side. And I mean, pretty much all that I do is like a lot of data and analytics. But then once I participated in the programs with Emeritus through Wharton, that was when I started to see that they had these different C-suite level programs. And I was like, well, is that something I should try to, because it's like $20,000 to $30,000 is how much the programs are. So I wasn't sure whether or not if it would be a good idea for me to try to invest into those now or to try to just make progress within my company.
Frankly, I would wait. You have an MBA. I would wait because some of those programs, the stuff that you got in an MBA is going to be in these programs. So I didn't realize you had the MBA. So you're already ahead of the game there. And see, that's a challenge for us. We discount. Know your worth. Know what you've already obtained and give yourself credit for that and try to market that. So I would say to try to navigate to the next level. And as you're doing that, you may bounce around and try different things, and there's nothing wrong with that. That gives you a breadth of exposure to different areas. So I would continue doing that. And you're more than welcome to reach out to me through LinkedIn if you want to ask additional questions, because I know we're tight on time. But
so I didn't pay attention to the time, but yeah, I'll definitely reach out to you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there one more question lingering before we wrap up? All right, if all hearts and minds are clear, I want to drop a few links in the chat here. The first is the link to Monica's LinkedIn. So please connect with her on LinkedIn if you would like to continue the conversation after today. I always encourage everyone to connect with our speakers and continue to expand your network. So please do that. The second link here is the link to our BDPA conference page. As I mentioned earlier in the call, we will be in Atlanta, Georgia, August 18th through the 20th, back in person this year. So we're excited to have everyone there. There'll be workshops, career fair, dinners, panels, all that good stuff. So it'll be a great time to come out. There's some competitions in there as well. And then the last link I'll give you is our Tech and Career Talk page. So the recording from this session will be posted on that page. You can also see some of our past talks out there. These will also be on our BDPA YouTube channel. So that's National BDPA on YouTube. So definitely check those out. Monica, any last closing thoughts before we wrap for the day?
No, I mean, I'm very excited that you guys were interested in my story. I would just tell you to just hang in there. You're going to have your ups and downs, your good and bad days, and just know that others are watching you. So you got to keep moving forward.
All right. Well, that being said, everyone, thank you again for joining our Tech and Career Talk. We'll see you again on the 22nd. For a bit of a look into what to expect at the conference this year. So we're excited to have you back. Thank you. Stay safe, stay blessed. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.